Hey everyone, what is going on? It is Brian. Welcome back to the channel. And today we have another one of those videos that just kind of comes out very timely. And we are taking a look at this brand new Four Roses bottle that actually released at the time of the recording of this video earlier this morning. This Kentucky Strong distillery release gift shop OESV 16-year and 6-month-old. So these were hand-selected barrels. They had, I want to say, 21 barrels total released, and they dedicate them to the families and residents of the Eastern Kentucky flood relief. Similarly to in Western Kentucky, you all may have seen the video that I did. It was a charity barrel that was donated by Four Roses in efforts to raise money for the tornado relief fund in Western Kentucky back in June. There was a lot of flooding in Eastern Kentucky. I'll put some resources down below where you all can donate to the Eastern Kentucky Relief Fund. But Four Roses did a financial contribution. They were taking donations on site, and at both of their gift shop locations, they did release some single barrels. That proceeds to that also went to the relief efforts for those who were affected by the weather and the floods in Eastern Kentucky. It says 100% of the proceeds will be donated to the Team Eastern Kentucky Relief Fund. That's the link that you'll find down below. Again, so this released earlier today. This is from the RN36 run. They come in the 3rd and 2nd tier. And again, it is OESV recipe. The barrel that we are looking at specifically today is 3A, coming in at 58.5%. But again, just because of the timeliness of that, wanting to get this out there, people have been asking for more of the Roses content as I've kind of paused some of the 7th tier stuff, just as I've been trying to figure out the cadence of what kind of content to put on this channel. This is one I did not want to miss, specifically as we had that OBSF for the tornado relief fund. We had the 20-year recently, so we have these older Four Roses products coming out, and I really wanted to dive into there. And we'll just start right away, just admiring the color on this one. Super enjoyable. And we are just gonna dive right into a really intriguing nose. Damp, wet wood, oak notes there. This underlying, I feel like the only thing I can say is it's a vermouthy note. It's not overly cherry. It's not overly exaggerated fruit, but it does come off like vermouth. Brown sugar extract. It's not necessarily overly sweet, but it's intense and concentrated in the sweetness that it has on the nose. A little bit of cinnamon. The longer you nose it, you leave it open. Maybe you pour a little bit after you finish your first pour. You get these subtle butterscotch notes that are there as well. And something that's sort of potpourri-like. It's fragrant, it's unique. I really do love the complexity that seems to come out on some of these older Four Roses barrels. If you pull the cork out of the bottle, the cork itself almost reminds me of Starlight Ambruana and that kind of fragrant, cinnamon, tobacco-y like nose. You are very familiar with that pocket of flavor here as well. It doesn't seem to smell its age of that 16 and a half years, but the more you nose it, the more that sort of comes out a little bit. Let's go ahead and dive in on the palate. Man, and that is, give me a minute. There's a lot going on here. Let me go into another sip. The mouthfeel is so coating. It's not overly coating. It's not like motor oil, but it's not undercoating either. It's exactly, I feel like, what you'd want the mouthfeel to be. And again, this is 117 proof, so it lightly stings on the gums. I feel like that's something that will probably dissipate with some airtime. It's more like an OESO almost, because it has these nice red fruit notes as well, but there's these red fruit notes mixed with this kind of freshness that almost reminds me of Clean Cotton from Yankee Candle. That's a common air freshener or candle that I used to get either for my car or in the house. It's fresh, cottony type profile to it. The vanillas are there. That goes back to that OESO comment that I made. Kind of vanilla wrapped, red fruits, plump, sweet fruit notes there. Soft underlying layer of dark chocolate and heavy tobacco. I feel like the more you sip this, the more of these gentle citrus and tobacco notes just continue to grow. I think I initially, going into this pour, thought that it wasn't very oaky, but the more you sip it, the more it kind of shows itself. And not in an overly heavy way, not in a tannic way. It just continues to lay on the palate with a lot of the tobacco and a lot of the oak. Kind of doing some comparison here. Since recently I've looked at some of these newer kind of higher tier runs of OESK, I feel like the profile here is like a more subtle OESK. It's not quite as spiced as OESK, or it's a slightly more spiced OESO. So it has kind of some clean, fresher fruit notes, but with a little bit more zip to it. So it's kind of a balance right there, as I would expect as an OESV. But it's interesting, it isn't herbal like some of the recent OBSQs that we have looked at lately, but it's not overly sweet in profile either. And if I were to try and pin this down, I don't know that I would actually pin this as a Four Roses product at all. That said, it's not Heaven Hill-like. It doesn't remind me of Brown-Forman at all. And it certainly doesn't remind me of Buffalo Trace. I feel like this is kind of a wild card in general with this sort of warm cinnamon, tobacco-like profile, but still hits on some elements that you're used to getting in OESV, that you're used to getting in other Roses products. But in general, this particular barrel, definitely a unique experience. I'm definitely glad that I picked this up. Where I would put this comparatively to some of the other hyper-aged ones that I have. I really enjoyed the 20-year, but I would say that the 20-year maybe was a little on the flat side in some regards, and I think this one has a little bit more unique characteristic to it. That said, the Tornado Relief 19-year OBSF that I tried, I thought they might have had a little bit more complexity of flavor, but this one I think maybe being opened a little bit longer could definitely give it a run for its money. But I think the B rye, the higher rye content that came in the OBSF definitely gave it a little bit more oomph that this does not have, which keeps this more in the kind of easier sipping territory. By no means am I saying that this is a slouch of a pour. This is a fantastic whiskey, and it's really enjoyable to run into this specific profile, especially in a Roses product, especially with all the Roses that I feel like I've tried so far this year. Guys, I hope this was insightful. I hope it was informational. I know this is a bottle that's most likely not going to be accessible for a lot of people to get unless you're chasing down secondary, but I feel like if you are one who wants to hear some reports to see, is it worth taking the plunge? I cannot tell you if it's worth what you would pay for, but at least as of right now, secondary pricing is closer to the $500. And I would say that there are worse Four Roses I've seen people spend $500 on. I think that this is a really special run. I think there's going to be a lot of interesting flavors. I'm curious to try other barrels. It was 2 per, so I have 2 different barrels here. I'm excited to try other barrels and see how they continue to change, same way that I've done with King of Kentucky and other products like that before, and see if there are any barrels that are better than this. Again, thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. Let me know if you're enjoying the Four Roses content. Let me know if you got a chance to get to the release or try any of these OESV bottles that went to support Eastern Kentucky. I'd love to hear what you all think in the comments down below. If there are any other videos you want to hear me talk about in upcoming episodes, please jump down below, leave me a message on Instagram, reach out to me and let me know what you want to hear me talk about in upcoming videos here on the channel. Till next time, everybody, see you all later.